Hi there. So my family and I recently had the opportunity of taking one of the famous private VIP tours of Disney World in Orlando. A lot of people, as I've been posting about it, have been asking me a lot of questions. So in this video, I'm hoping to answer, basically let you know everything you possibly could want to know about the private VIP tour at Disney World. Now, I am also going to tell you exactly how much it costs. That's definitely the #1 question. So make sure you watch the video all the way to the end if you want that info. And then in addition to telling you how much it costs, I'm also going to let you know about a couple of alternatives where you can get some of the same benefits of the VIP private tour without necessarily paying that high of a price. So make sure you stay tuned for that as well. By the way, if you'd like a free copy of our guide to the Disney VIP private tours, just go to topflightfamily.com/DisneyVIP. Many thanks to Walt Disney Parks and Resorts for hosting us on this trip. If you want to watch the travel vlog that we made about our experience of doing Disney with a VIP private tour, make sure you check the description. I will add a link there so that you can check out that vlog. So the first question is, how long has this private VIP tour service been around? And when I asked Jaime, our awesome guide, the answer fascinated me. So it turns out that this service has essentially been around ever since Disneyland first opened in 1955 in Anaheim, California. And the very first tour guide was actually Walt Disney himself. So basically what happened is people all over the world were hearing about this amazing place called Disneyland, and a lot of foreign dignitaries and even royalty wanted to come and visit. And obviously they didn't want them to just wander around with everybody else. You know, they wanted to provide kind of a more structured environment. And so Walt Disney himself used to basically take these parties around, show them Disneyland, and give them sort of the inside tour and let them know how everything works. And so Walt Disney himself was the very first private VIP tour guide. They are also sometimes referred to as plaids because they're known for the uniforms that they wear. There's a summertime and a cold weather one. Cold weather because, it's Florida, it's relative term. But they always have boldly feature this kind of plaid pattern on their uniforms, which is how you would recognize them if you're walking around the park. So how does the VIP private tour actually work? So the way it works is that you can have a party of up to 10 people per one guide. And the minimum time that you can book is 7 hours. So you have to do at least 7 hours with the guide. And then the maximum is 10 hours. So anywhere between 7 hours to 10 hours with a VIP private tour guide. Now, who counts as a person? Everybody does. So even if you are traveling with an infant, that infant is going to count towards the 10-person limit in the group. Now, if you have a group that's larger than 10, you can still do the private VIP tour. However, you would just need to add an additional guide, which of course costs extra money. So essentially from 1 to 10 people, you can do with one guide. And then once you hit once you hit 11, then you would need to add an additional guide. So apart from how much does it cost, the next question that I get the most is it true that I can skip the lines at all the rides? So this is actually a little bit of a misconception about the private VIP tours. You can't actually skip the line, but what you do get, which is the main benefit of working with a private tour guide, is you get unlimited fast pass. So any attraction, any ride that you want to go to, you can automatically join the fast pass lane, and then you would still be standing behind whoever is in that fast pass lane already. So there is really no option at Disney that I know of to completely skip the line, even ahead of people standing in line for fast pass. But this is really the next best thing. And the one thing that's also really great about it is once you have exited the ride, let's say you really enjoyed it, your kids loved it, they're like, I want to do it again, I want to do it again, which was basically Sean and Ella at every ride that we went on. All you have to do is just exit completely, and then you can turn right back around and join the FastPass line and go through it again. So this is a great benefit because, as you may know, if you are using the FastPass and doing Disney sort of the regular way, you are assigned 3 FastPass rides or passes at a given time. And I believe you have about an hour window in which you have to make it to that ride within that hour in order to use the FastPass. Now, if you don't make it within that time, if you miss your window, then you forfeit that opportunity. So if you're with a VIP private tour guide, you don't have that. You can basically show up to the FastPass line whenever you want. So another question is, do you get better seats at shows and nighttime spectaculars? And the answer is yes, absolutely. So one of the great benefits of doing a private VIP tour at Disney World is that they actually have priority seating or standing, depending on kind of what show or what event it is. They have priority areas for guests who are doing the VIP private tours. So to give you an example, when we were at Magic Kingdom, when it was time to watch the parade, we had a killer view. So we were allowed to go above the deck, I guess the top deck of the train station. And if you ever try to go up there, you'll know that there's always a rope that says reserved, and there's someone standing guard there, and nobody can just people can't just wander onto that balcony to watch the parade. So that is one of the areas that is reserved for VIP guests. And so that is definitely a great advantage. Another occasion in which we were able to make use of this service was during the first night we went to watch the fireworks spectacular at Epcot. And they got us almost right up against the water's edge. So actually the area we were in was even closer than a VIP private tour guide would normally be able to get you to. It's an area that's typically reserved only for people booking like big corporate events. But even if you were not part of an event where you could be that close, you would be maybe like 5 feet back with the private tour guide, which is way, 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 way closer than you would get even if you were standing in line for like an hour or two. So that is definitely a benefit. Also, if you're interested in any of the great shows that are at Disney World, being with a VIP private tour can also get you the best seats in the house for those. So that is definitely a big benefit. Do they provide transportation? The answer is yes, absolutely. So one of my favorite things about the VIP private tour is that you essentially get door-to-door service throughout the whole experience. So for us, our guide actually came to pick us up at the airport. And so they have a fleet of vehicles, this particular department. So for us, they had us in a Suburban, so like a big SUV. They also have, I believe, 10 passenger vans. So that's another option if you're going with a larger group. But they can basically pick you up anywhere within Orlando and take you to Disney. So for us, they picked us up from the airport, brought us to our hotel. We were staying at the Disney Beach Club Resort, which was very nice. And then from there, took us basically all around the parks. So it's really, really convenient. You have the transportation piece taken care of. And then the other great thing is that in the course of visiting the parks with a tour guide, they don't just park in the regular parking lot that everybody else parks in when they visit the parks. They actually will utilize what Disney calls backstage entrances, because everything is sort of like theater speak, right? Cast members, backstage. And so essentially they are backstage entrances that only cast members are typically allowed to use. And so you essentially roll right up to a more or less secret entrance, kind of a side entrance to the park. You park there, you walk in, and then you're in the middle of, let's say, Pandora, or you're in the middle of Magic Kingdom. So you don't have to deal with finding a parking spot. You don't have to deal with the long lines at the entrances and exits of these parks. You swoop right in and it's just super convenient. And you know, it saves a little bit of walking, but the main thing that it saves is time, because you don't have to spend so much time sort of like just trying to either get in or get out of the park. So that is definitely a big benefit. So what is the single biggest benefit of using a private VIP tour guide? So in my opinion, the biggest benefit is the amount of time you're gonna save. And that really is why people join these tours. Yes, it is very pricey. However, the value that you get is just immense. I mean, just the fact that you can cut through so much time, you don't have to stand in any standby lines. I mean, some of these rides that we went on, the standby time was 2 hours. It was a 2-hour wait to get onto this ride, and we went through in like 3 minutes. So you save so much time. You're able to really pack many more rides and attractions into a day than you could if you were doing it the regular way. You know, just the simple fact that if you enjoyed a ride, you can exit and then turn right back around and join the fast pass line again. That's a huge time saver, right? You don't have to get back in at the end of the regular standby line. Even if you had a fast pass to that attraction, you wouldn't be able to repeat it right away. You would have to, your fast pass would be done, and then you'd have to stand in the standby line if you wanted to go again right away. So that is definitely the biggest benefit. And you know, another thing that I didn't really think about until we were actually on the tour is because you're maximizing your time, it's just a much less stressful experience. I mean, the last time we went to Disney, I think we got up at the crack of dawn, made sure we got a good parking spot, we got to the gates before they opened, and you know, we were there super, super early. With the private VIP tour, Jaime met us in our hotel lobby at like maybe 10 a.m. We kind of leisurely made our way to the parks. By 11:30, we had done so many rides already that I couldn't believe we'd only been there for like an hour and a half. So I would say for sure, the biggest benefit is the time and the ability to visit multiple parks in a day. Now, could you do that yourself? Sure, but there would be a lot of hassle involved, right? You would have to like stand in line to enter the park. You'd have to stand in line to exit the parks. Not to mention the time it takes to get between the parks. And then of course, waiting in line for the various rides and attractions that you want to do. With the VIP tour, we were able to hit up 2 parks a day. And, you know, if we really wanted to be aggressive, we could easily have done 3 or maybe even 4. But, you know, we were able to very comfortably do 2 parks a day and really get sort of the biggest and best attractions from each park in that time. So I would say hands down, the biggest benefit is you're maximizing the value that you get from the parks in the shortest amount of time. And then the other thing is that the itinerary is completely customized. So you can let the guide know, hey, listen, we as a family, we're all about the thrill ride. So put us on the craziest roller coasters, the most thrilling attractions, and then that can be your experience. Or maybe you're traveling with younger kids, as we were. Both girls are pretty adventurous, but there were certain things that were definitely a little too scary for Ella. And so we kind of stayed with middle of the road in terms of thrills. So we did kind of a mix of like easy, like family rides, like a lot of like boat kind of attractions, right, where you kind of sail on a little boat. And then we did sort of mildly thrilling things as well. So you can completely customize your experience, which is really another benefit of the private VIP tour. So what other benefits are there to working with a VIP private tour guide? Well, one of the really nice little perks is that when you arrive at a park, there will be a team of other VIP tour guides that greet you, and they have baskets of snacks that you can choose from. They have ice cold water. And so it's just one of those little things that makes you feel really, really welcome. And it's just, you know, such a relief, especially when you're traveling with kids, even though you're doing Disney a much cushier way than you would without the tour guide. Even with that, it's still a pretty kind of physically taxing activity or type of vacation, right? There's a lot of walking. It's hot in Orlando most of the year. It's tiring. And so kids definitely get tired. So it's just really nice when you arrive at the next park to just kind of like have this little, it just kind of perks you up to, you know, have a little bit of snacks, have some cold water, and it's just one of those really nice touches. Another one of those like little nice touches that we saw is that very often when we were done with one part of the park and we were getting into the car would already be pre-cooled for us. So Jaime and his colleagues have some kind of, I don't know, secret communication going on. I mean, obviously they're communicating via phone and text. But there were so many occasions where he was able to get one of his colleagues to turn on the AC in the car so that by the time we got there, it was already nice and cool and comfortable. So we could go from having just walked a bunch and being all hot and sweaty to getting into a nice, cool car. So that's another nice little benefit. Another benefit that I really enjoyed is the amount of just massive insider info that the guide has about Disney. In order to become a guide, there's a big training program that the cast members have to go through that basically tests their knowledge of the parks. And so the guides are probably among the most knowledgeable people in the entire Disney organization when it comes to the rides and the attractions and the history of the parks. And so there were so many occasions where Jaime just had like really interesting tidbits about the park. You know, for example, explaining how in Pandora, they don't have any signage because it wouldn't really go with sort of the Na'vi culture that part of the park is trying to bring to life. So instead they have these statues that are created to kind of symbolize the different rides. So Flight of Passage, there's a statue of a banshee. The River Journey ride, there is a statue of a shaman, hopefully I'm saying that right. And you know, he told us about this, the fact that they use bioluminescent paint throughout the park so that during the day it absorbs all the sunlight, and then at night, if you go there to Pandora at night, everything lights up. It has this like really cool blue tint because it's been absorbing sunlight the whole day. So it's just like those little insider tips that are super useful. A friend of mine who also did the VIP private tour mentioned that their guide actually gave them lots of tips on how to get a better score on the Toy Story attraction in Hollywood Studios. So, you know, how it's a shooting game. So, you know, which things should you focus on shooting to get the best possible score. Another thing that Jaime was very helpful with is there were certain rides where there's some splashings, you might get wet. And so I wanted to film as much as possible, and he would give me a heads up when there was a splashing opportunity coming up so I could quickly put my phone away so it didn't get wet or damaged. So it's those kinds of insider tips and tricks that the guides have that really bring like a whole extra layer of value to the experience. So is there anything that is not included in the VIP private tour? Yes. So what is actually not included is your access to the parks themselves. So you would actually have to pay for your park tickets. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom, you would have to pay separately for that. If you're planning to do multiple parks, then you would have to purchase your tickets for those multiple parks yourself. So that is not included. The other area where sometimes people may not realize the VIP private tour doesn't cover everything is dining reservations. So with the shows and the parades, as I mentioned, they have priority seating areas for VIP tour guests. However, when it comes to dining reservations, VIP guests really don't have any particular priority over any other Disney guests. You know, that may make you cheer if you're not doing a VIP tour. So basically, you know, you can't expect to just book a VIP tour the same day and then show up and then get like the hottest dining reservation. That's like super hard to get. That's not going to happen. So if you are planning to do a private tour with Disney, it's still best to book your vacation as far in advance as possible so that you can also make your dining reservations as early on as possible, because there are certain restaurants that are just very popular, and the earlier you book, then the better chance you have of getting that reservation. And this is particularly true if you have a large party. So if you are actually maxing out the party size to, let's say, 10 people, your guide actually eats with you. So it would be a party of 11. That party of 11 is going to be a lot harder to seat than, let's say, a party of 3. Maybe it's just the 2 of you and the guide. So definitely keep that in mind. So how do you go about booking one of these private tours? So there is actually a specific number that you can call, which I will read to you now. It is 407-560-4033. So that is the direct line to the private tours department if you would like to book there directly. However, you can also just request a VIP private tour at the time that you're making your regular Disney reservation. So if you're doing it over the phone or online, you are actually able, well, you know what, definitely by phone. I'm not sure if you can do it online. But just through the regular reservations department, they can take care of adding on the private tour for you as well. Now, there are only so many guides available, so there are basically a finite number of cast members at Disney that are trained and essentially qualified to be private tour guides. So keep that in mind. So if you are interested in doing this, definitely the earlier you book, the better. Let me see. Disney themselves recommend booking up to 180 days in advance of your trip. That said, Jaime, our guide, did tell me that sometimes some VIP tours will book literally same day. So as I mentioned, you know, if you want to kind of do that, understand that it's very possible you're not going to get the sort of top choice of dining reservations you want. So just like everything else with Disney, the more in advance that you book, the better of an experience you're going to have. Okay, so time to answer the number one question about the private VIP tours, which is how much does it cost? So the VIP private tours vary in price between $425 per hour to $625 per hour. That's of course at the recording, at the time of that I'm recording this video. By the time you watch this, that price may have varied. And the reason for the fluctuation, the only variable that may make the price go up and down is the season. So if you're booking during Disney's high season, then it's going to be $625. If you're booking during a low season, then it'll be $425. Doing a private VIP tour is definitely not cheap. However, if you take into account the fact that you can have up to 10 people in your group, there is the potential of you possibly getting together with another family or another two families and splitting the cost between you. That would definitely make it a lot more affordable. Is it worth the money? Yeah, it really is. I mean, having experienced it, I think it's one of those things where if you can't really know the value until you've done it, and that can make it maybe a hard sell for some people, but for us having experienced it, I think it's worth every dollar. I mean, just the fact that if you are a true Disney fan, and even if you're like sort of a middle of the road Disney fan, but if you are like a serious Disney fan, this is the ultimate way to do Disney. I mean, I can only imagine how thrilling it would be for a Disney super fan to do the parks this way. For us, I would say we're kind of middle of the road Disney fans. We're not super fanatics, but we definitely enjoy our Disney stuff. This was incredible. I mean, just the amount of things that you were able to do in such a short amount of time, and being able to just completely customize your experience and have so much control over it, I think is another thing. You know, sometimes when you do theme parks, there's so much that's kind of not up to you. Like, you don't know what the wait times are gonna be like. You're hoping that you can get this fast pass and that fast pass. But when you are doing the private VIP tour, everything is really within your control. You can customize your entire experience. So it is absolutely worth the money, in my opinion. And like I said, if you're able to split it with 2 or 3 other parties, then it becomes a lot more affordable. Okay, so what if you're interested in the sort of amenities and the perks of doing a private VIP tour, but you don't necessarily have the budget to go all out and do the private tour? Well, there are actually some alternatives. So Disney actually has a few VIP tours. They're not private tours, but they're called VIP tours that are structured along certain themes. So at the time of the recording, of me recording this video, there are 3 that they offer. One is called the Ultimate Day of Thrills, one is the Ultimate Disney Classics, and one is the Ultimate Nights of Adventure. So the cool thing about these tours is that you get a lot of the same benefits of a private tour. So things like transportation taken care of door to door, a guide walking you through and having all that insider knowledge, unlimited fast passes. So you have all of those experiences. The only thing that you're not able to do is completely customize the itinerary. So the way these VIP tours work is that there's a specific structure. So for example, the Ultimate Day of Thrills VIP tour, it lasts for 7 hours, and they do a specific, they do, I think, about 10 different rides, but they're always those 10 specific rides. So you don't necessarily have the option to say, oh, instead of doing this ride number 3, can we put in this other ride that's not on the list? That is not an option. If you prefer to sit out that ride, of course you can do that, but you wouldn't be able to necessarily change the schedule. So that is a great kind of alternative if you have some budget to play with and you'd like to have a more customized experience of Disney without going all the way to the private tours. So these tours really range in price. The Ultimate Day of Thrills is actually 7 hours long, so of course it's gonna cost a little more. I think it's between, let me just let you know right now, as of this recording, it's between $299 to $349 per person, per adult. And then the Ultimate Disney Classics VIP tour, that one I believe is a little less thrilling on the thrilling side of rides, but they take you through some of the really kind of classic attractions. That one is 4 hours long, and that one right now is $249 per person, and that includes everything. And then the Ultimate Night of Adventure tour is also $249 per person. It's also 4 hours long. And this tour sounds really cool. It actually takes you through, you go through the parks at night and they kind of show you some of the attractions that are most interesting at night. So, you know, if you're not quite ready for the private tour, but you do want some of those perks, definitely look into the VIP tours. I haven't tried any of them myself yet, so I don't have, you know, specific feedback, but from what I read, they sound fantastic. And the great thing about Disney is that all of this information that I discussed in this video is actually on their website. So the pricing, everything is very transparent. You can see the itineraries, you can see what rides and attractions are included. So you can just head on over to the Walt Disney World website and get all that info there. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this informative. If there are any questions that I didn't cover in this video, please leave a comment. I do read every single comment, and I will try as much as I can to answer your question in the comment section. Bye. Top Flight family received complimentary airfare, hotel, meals, guide, and parks access.